Be a thought leader. Grow your knowledge community. Create more mind reach. E-Extension. Red Imported Fire Ant Management, a teaching module for advanced Master Gardener training. Why is the red imported fire ant so tough to manage? There are several reasons. Fire ant colonies can move very easily. They are omnivorous. They do not rely on only one food source. Their life cycle ensures survivability. Fire ant queens have a high reproductive potential and are able to repopulate quickly. They have a large number of colonies in areas that they infest. Fire ants are invasive species, have very little competition. And their biological traits, such as hybridization and multiple queen colonies, keep fire ants so difficult to manage. Let's look at a real example of reinfestation by the red imported fire ant. At this test site, there were anywhere from 15 to more than 80 mounds per acre. An insecticide was applied, which eliminated 100% of the fire ant colonies at the time. 6 to 8 weeks later, tiny new nests were observed in this area. 6 months later, mounds as large as 2 to 5 inches in diameter were found. Moreover, there were possibly 400 of these per acre. 1 year after treatment, the mounds were 4 to 6 inches in diameter and at a density of about 120 mounds per acre. 2 to 5 years later, the mounds were now large, at a density of 15 to 80 or more per acre. Fire ants came back at the same density 2 to 5 years after treatment. Fire ants can spread through a variety of different ways. During mating flights, fire ants fly up in the air, and wind can help move them from their original location. Mound disturbance can also cause fire ants to move over fence lines, and human transport is a very common way that fire ants can move and spread. Humans move fire ants in soil and nursery stock, turf grass, hay, and through vehicles. This is a good example of where fire ants may thrive. Fire ants in this location are especially dangerous because children are exposed and can disturb mounds, causing fire ants to attack. Fire ants now infest over 330 million acres in the United States and Puerto Rico. In the southeastern United States, fire ants are considered to be the dominant ant species. It is estimated that the overall cost of fire ants across the U.S. is over $1 billion annually. The principal areas of expansion in the southeastern U.S. include Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. The principal areas of fire ant expansion in the southwestern United States include Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. The impact of fire ants is expansive, and they affect nearly every arena imaginable. The impact of fire ants includes negative effects on human health, agriculture and livestock, nursery and landscape industry, wildlife, biodiversity, utilities, recreation and tourism, transportation, and environmental quality. This image illustrates the pustules caused by fire ants on a human hand. The pustule that forms as a result of the venom injected during the sting is unique to fire ant stings. The pain experienced is also where fire ants receive their common name. Agriculturally, fire ants can become an issue. Fire ants prefer to make their mounds where soil is soft and continuously watered. In agricultural areas, irrigation results in a perfect habitat for fire ants. Fire ants are also a pest in okra crops because they feed on the oily interior of the okra. Wildlife is negatively affected by fire ants. Fire ants sting ground-nesting birds, reptiles, and mammals, and are especially harmful to newly born animals. Fire ants decrease biodiversity of invertebrates and vertebrates by stinging and killing animals that share the same niche and habitat as fire ants. They are also very territorial and will displace vertebrates and invertebrates from an area, also decreasing biodiversity. In utility boxes and electrical units, fire ants are a common issue. Fire ants are attracted to the electrical currents, disrupt contactors, and other electrical system parts. Fire ants also nest in electrical transformer boxes because the shelter they provide is ideal for building fire ant mounds. In the nursery and landscape industry, fire ants build mounds in landscapes and nursery pots. Managing the red imported fire ant, REFA. Currently, there are more than 150 products labeled for fire ant control. Most of these give good control, but only when properly used. It is important to know that none of these provide fire ant control for very long, and multiple strategies are those that work best when managing fire ants. Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, emphasizes using a variety of tactics. It also emphasizes using judicious use of pesticides, managing populations below levels that cause problems, and advocates management of fire ant problems. IPM is effective, economical, and ecologically sound. Fire ant management tactics using integrated pest management include sanitation, physical and mechanical control, and chemicals. With sanitation, the best tactics are to keep shrubs and trees away from buildings, because this forms a bridge into the home. Keep trash can bins clean, because the oil and trash inside the trash cans will attract fire ants. Physical and mechanical control includes hot water or boiling water poured over mounds, and barriers to keep fire ants from entering given areas. Chemical control involves using registered pesticides and always following label directions. There are many home remedies that you may find for fire ant control. Grits simply do not work. Workers do not eat solid food. Therefore, grits cannot enter their stomach to cause them to explode. Mixing mounds is another home remedy. It doesn't work, and it's simply too dangerous. The risk of being stung by fire ants by 2 mounds is too high. Gasoline is another home remedy. Do not use gasoline. Gasoline is dangerous, it is a serious pollutant to our environment, kills plants, and makes fire ant colonies move, but does not kill them. Other home remedies include bleaches and cleaning solutions, as well as other household cleaners. Again, don't use them. They are dangerous, serious pollutants, and they will kill your plants. Fire ant chemical management today comes in a variety of different options. You may find chemical management as a broadcast bait or granular material. These can be insecticides or insect growth regulators, insecticidal dusts and liquids, individual mound treatments, which can be found as insecticide granules, dusts, or liquids, barrier treatments around structures, or a combination of broadcast baits and individual mound treatments. Fire ant chemicals work in one of 2 ways. General insecticides kill both workers and queens. These can be slow or fast acting. Insect growth regulators, or IGRs, mimic insect hormones. They prevent queens from laying viable and fertile eggs. Workers do not die from ingesting insect growth regulators. Only the queen is affected. Workers die from old age. They are very slow acting because you must wait for all the workers to die off before the colony is actually affected. Bait materials, insecticides, and insect growth regulators. Bait materials consist of a chemical dissolved in an attractant, usually oil. An insecticide or insect growth regulator is absorbed within the granules as well. Ants forage and return it to the colony. Ants feed by sucking oil from the baits. They transfer the chemical to other ants by trophallaxis. The larvae are often called the stomach of the colony. This is because they are the only members of the colony that can ingest solid food. Fire ant baits are often very slow acting. However, there is a method to this madness. When a fire ant worker picks up a granule of bait, she carries it back into the nest. What little oils and pesticides she consumes from the solid bait cannot kill her, otherwise this granule will not make it into the nest. The granules are fed to the larvae, who ingest the pesticide, regurgitate it, and the liquid is fed to other members of the colony. It takes a while before the pesticide is transferred to all the members of the colony. It cannot work too quickly or it will never make it back to the queen. Once the queen or queens have received the pesticide, she will die, If you do not kill the queen, you do not kill the colony. There are many different chemicals that have different actions on fire ants. General insecticide-based baits kill fire ants. These active ingredients include indoxacarb. Trade names may be Spectracide Fire Ant Killer, Advion, Over and Out Fire Ant Killer Mound Treatment. Hydromethylnon. Trade names include Amdro Fire Ant Bait, ProBait, or Max Force. Spinosad, which is OMRI certified or organic certified, found as Come and Get It or Greenlight Fire Ant Control with Conserve. Fipronil, which is found as Ceasefire Fire Ant Bait. Insect growth regulators, or IGRs, and similar compounds prevent the queen from laying viable eggs. Active ingredients include S-methoprene, or Extinguish, pyroxafen, found as Distance, or Exteme, abamectin, found as Varsity, or Ascend, which is actually technically not an insect growth regulator, but often found in this category, or phenoxycarb, found as Award. There are also mixtures or hopper blends, which include an insecticide along with an IGR. These include Extinguish Plus or Firestrike. You will get the best effect when workers are killed slowly or not at all. It takes time to get the material to the queen, as mentioned in the previous slide. Here are some examples of general insect baits. These active ingredients are indoxacarb, hydromethylnon, and spinosad, the organic option to fire ant baits. These are examples of insect growth regulator baits: pyroxafen, abamectin, not technically an IGR, phenoxycarb, and methoprene. And then the mixtures or hopper blends of the insecticide plus the insect growth regulator. These are relatively new products. These contain methoprene and hydromethylnon blends. You get the quick kill and the residual-like effects. You will have less ants in 6 months when using these products. There are many advantages to using fire ant baits. They are attractive to the pest, meaning that the fire ants will come and pick up the bait. Fire ant baits include corncob grit plus soybean oil, the attractant, and a pesticide. Baits also control unseen colonies, because these colonies who have not formed large mounds yet are still foraging for food. Baits are economical. They can be broadcast or spot treated. They are also easy to apply and relatively safe, the least toxic method of fire ant control. They are used in small amounts, meaning that you are using less concentrated amounts of pesticide in a given area. However, there are also disadvantages to using baits. There are little to no residual with baits. Baits can also be easily ruined if they are placed in excessive heat, if they are wet, or if they are placed in the sunlight. Most are slow acting. However, there are some fire ant baits that can control fire ants within 1 to 3 days. Most take 2 to 4 weeks for control. Growth regulator baits may be difficult to find. They are not usually found on hardware store shelves. Baiting selection can also sometimes be confusing. There are many options, and it's hard to know which one to use. When applying baits, it is very important to have proper use of the baits. Always apply when workers are foraging. These are sunny days, either early or late in the day, and they are most active during 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. During the heat of the summer, it is best to apply either very early in the morning or very late in the day, late afternoon or early evening. Always use fresh baits, and apply when the ground is dry and no rain is expected. It is best to have a window of 48 hours prior to application and 48 hours after application. Do not mix baits with other materials. Avoid applying to mound surfaces. This is because fire ants do not forage on top of their mound. They forage at the perimeter of their mound. Do not disturb the mound prior to application. This can cause bait shyness. Do follow the label directions. The label is the law, and it will tell you everything you need to know. Do use the lowest setting on the spreader. This will prevent you from over-applying the bait. There are different application methods for applying baits. These include individual mound treatments, handheld seeders, or vehicle-mounted seeders. Contact insecticides, granulars, dusts, and liquids. Contact insecticides kill on contact. These include either granular products, dusts, or mound drenches. Always follow the label directions for rate and application, as these vary between different products. There are many different contact insecticides for the red imported fire ant. These are some examples. The active ingredient acephate, found as the trade name ortho-orthene fire ant killer. This is an individual mound treatment. Bifenthrin, found as Orthomax fire ant killer broadcast granules, or Talstar. These can be broadcast or used as an individual mound treatment. Carbaryl, 7 bug killer concentrate, as an individual mound treatment. Cyfluthrin, which is Bayer Advanced Lawn fire ant killer, used as an individual mound treatment. Deltamethrin, found as Bengal Ultra Dust 2x fire ant killer, or high yield imported fire ant control granules, used as individual mound treatments. Fipronil, over and out fire ant killer granules, or Chipko Top Choice. Fipronil is broadcast. Lambda cyhalothrin, found as Spectracide fire ant killer granules, used as individual mound treatments or broadcast. Natural pyrethrins and diatomaceous earth, found as Organic 1 fire ant killer, used as an individual mound treatment. Permethrin, found as Taro outdoor ant killer, or high yield indoor-outdoor broadcast insecticide, and 17 other products used as individual mound treatments. Or spinosad, found as Fertilome borer, bagworm, leaf miner, and tent caterpillar spray. These are individual mound treatments and are OMRI certified or organic certified. Here are some examples of insecticide granules with the active ingredients bifenthrin, fipronil, and lambda cyhalothrin. There are many different insecticide dusts, wettable powders, and liquids. These are dusted on individual mounds or drenched on individual mounds. There are many advantages to using contact insecticides. Granules can be broadcast. They are fast and effective, but they may be short-term. They provide a barrier-like protection and residual effects in some products. They can be used for broadcast and spot treatments. They can be used in mound treatments, which are cost-effective and less harmful to non-target organisms because you are only treating the mounds. There are also some disadvantages to using contact insecticides. You may not quite reach the queen. The workers are killed on contact and may not make it down to the queen. They are more expensive to treat in large areas. Toxicity is much higher than baits when using contact insecticides. They are less target specific and you have a higher risk of your non-target organisms dying from using these products. Rapid reinfestation is much more likely when using contact insecticides. And there is the risk of environmental contamination if they are not properly applied. Applying chemicals to your home or yard, always follow the label instructions. Tactics for best management, combination treatments. There are different approaches to different situations. There is the 2-step method, 3-step method, long residual broadcast treatment, management in public areas, homes and buildings, vegetable gardens, and neighborhood management. We will discuss each one. The 2-step method for treating lawns. The 2-step method is recommended for moderate to large areas of turf. It is not recommended for lightly infested areas. The goal of the 2-step method is to reduce fire ant problems while minimizing the need to treat individual mounds. Step 1 of the 2-step method is to use a broadcast bait product in the spring and/or the fall. Step 2 is to treat nuisance mounds as necessary after the broadcast bait treatment. Start scouting 3 days after you place out the bait treatment. Individual mound treatments only are best for small areas where infestations are fairly light. They are not recommended for heavily infested areas. You selectively control fire ants when using individual mound treatments. This requires much more labor and more monitoring. The method in individual mound treatments is to individually treat undesirable ant mounds using a suitable contact or bait product of your choice. You continue to treat unwanted mounds as they appear. The three-step method for treating structures involves: Step 1. A barrier treatment. Apply a band of granular or liquid insecticide to the perimeter of the structure. Step 2 is to broadcast bait. Use a broadcast bait to lawns surrounding the structure outside the perimeter barrier. And Step 3 is an individual mound treatment. Wait 3 days to allow the bait to be distributed. Then use a drench or dust to treat nuisance or hazardous colonies. The three-step method is a good method to use when treating schools, nursing homes, or other structures. Long residual broadcast treatment is long-lasting but much more expensive. This involves broadcasting a residual product such as fipronil or bifenthrin. Fipronil is applied once per year. Bifenthrin is applied 2 to 3 times per year. It is very costly, with an expense of $180 to $500 per acre per year. Fipronil takes longer to control fire ants. However, you will have 80% control of fire ants within 4 weeks. Maximum control by 6 weeks. Management in public areas such as athletic fields, parks, golf courses, and camping sites. First, map out fire ant infestations in the area. In high priority areas, use broadcast bait products. Use individual mound treatments 3 to 5 days after bait application. Treat problem mounds in the highest priority areas with fast-acting insecticides. In low priority areas, use perimeter treatments, or no treatment may be sufficient. Perimeter treatments may also be necessary if reinfestation occurs quickly. This is a very flexible method now being used by commercial landscape managers. Around homes and buildings, fire ant prevention is key. If fire ants are found indoors, the first step is to remove children and pets from the immediate area. It is imperative to find and remove fire ant food sources. In homes and buildings, find where fire ants are entering. Spray the entry point with an indoor ant control product. Avoid spraying near food or eating utensils. Treat indoor trails with soap, bleach, or ammonia cleaner, such as Windex. This disrupts pheromone trails. Do not use baits indoors. Once you have taken these steps indoors, you must now find the colony outside. Treat the colony with a product registered for outdoor use. Call a professional to eliminate the colonies inside the house, and check for bridges, which can be air conditioner lines, electrical and phone conduits, and overhanging tree limbs, or other areas where fire ants have formed a bridge to enter the indoors. In vegetable gardens, you are very limited with products to use. Extinguish bait works within 8 to 12 weeks and is labeled for use inside vegetable gardens. Greenlight fire ant control with conserve bait also works within 2 to 4 weeks and can be used inside a vegetable garden. This product contains the active ingredient spinosad, which is considered organic. Other baits can be applied around vegetable gardens, but not in the garden. Approved contact insecticides can also be used as individual mound treatments inside the garden. Make sure you read the label for a product that can be used in vegetable gardens when using for controlling fire ants. Community-wide fire ant management programs are cooperative efforts within a neighborhood that can help save money and effort when controlling fire ants. Community-wide fire ant management programs lengthen the time between reinfestation. Education is key with these programs, and homeowners must cooperate with one another in treating the neighborhood at the same time. Many times, homeowner associations now contract with a commercial applicator to treat the neighborhood. There are statewide efforts currently in progress to control imported fire ants. These include biological control methods, in which researchers in many states are conducting controlled studies by releasing and monitoring natural enemies of fire ants. Fire ant densities in the United States are over 5 times higher than in their native South America. In South America, fire ants have 30 plus natural enemies. Self-sustaining biological control agents could provide long-term suppression of fire ant populations. 2 self-sustaining biological control agents for fire ants. These cannot be used by individual homeowners. The phorid fly is a natural enemy that has become established in the United States through controlled experiments and releases. Phorid flies lay an egg in the thorax of the fire ant. The larva hatches from the egg and migrates to the head. Inside the head, the larva eats the inside of the fire ant. The ant's head falls off, giving it the common name, the phorid fly, decapitating fly. Phorid flies greatly decrease foraging by fire ants. Therefore, they are not out in the yard as abundantly as they would be when phorid flies are not active. The infectious protozoa. Thanks to the Imported Fire Ant Research and Management Plan, Texas A&M University System, for the use of many of the images seen in this presentation. Portions of this presentation were made possible by a grant from the Southern Region Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education Professional Development Program. Contributors to this presentation include Kathy Flanders, Molly Keck, C&M Dries.